revised time.
Miami storm. 4th Street Wednesday.
No, what I mean. I love the green, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Just regular guns. Yeah. Yeah.
My understanding is
I saw that this morning, that was. Saw it. So you just He's guy here.
Is it Brandon presenting?
Or is it just you? Get away with it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Brandon's not.
Yeah,
He didn't have that.
All right, Chair, we can start. I know we're one time, but we're good. We're one, if Dory's ready. Are you ready?
Okay, will the Committee on Maintenance Improvements and Partnerships, please come to order? 1:01 PM. We'll start with roll call. Chair is present. I'll let you guys.
Jay Pedro present.
Nikki Medwitz present.
And nobody is joining us on online.
Correct.
Hearing members present, we will proceed to a few housekeeping items. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda. In-person oral testimony will be allowed during item number 3 as listed on today's agenda. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on each item. When your name is called, please state your name and identify the item you would like to testify on when prompted. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. With regard to written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, we ask all of you to please turn off your cell phones. And members, agenda item number 1 is a presentation that continues our committee's discussion on maintenance within our city parks. First agenda item is an update on the maintenance and servicing of our trees. So I'll turn that over to you guys.
Aloha, members of the Parks Board Advisory Committee. We just wanted to catch you up on a few things that we've been working on as far as maintenance is concerned in Duff. Starting with community forestry program. We have not reported on the community forestry program as of yet, so this is the first time that we'll be discussing it. So our community forestry program is pretty much brand new. It's still kind of cakey. It was established in 2019 specifically to facilitate public-private partnerships to increase the tree canopy coverage and educate about tree benefits. They also oversee the aspects of our tree planting goals. They've been working diligently now on putting together a complete inventory of all of our trees throughout the city of Honolulu. There are 2 people, 2 full-time FTE. One is a full-time permanent staff, the other is contract hire that started in July of 2025. The 2 members are Navin Tagore, Irwin, and Maria Welbert. Next slide, please. Is there another slide? Okay, there, you should have a handout in front of you that looks like this.
Yep.
So the community forestry section is responsible for facilitating community planting partnerships for city park trees and street trees. They also work with community groups to engage in early tree care and low pruning maintenance for city park and street trees. You can see there are 3 items that they're responsible for in the maintenance category. The first is with new tree plantings and specifically community plantings. The community groups approach the community forestry staff to partner for planting projects. Community groups also come through our Adopt a Park program and our street tree planting request. Duff is providing trees for park plantings, and plans will be developed with our community forestry staff and also our nursery and landscape staff. Then sent over to Parks Maintenance and Recreation Services and Maintenance Support Services for their review and approval. Once we've gotten their approvals, community forestry sets a planting date, procures the trees, treats for any pests. If we're purchasing these trees, we treat for pests before they go out. We're testing specifically for little fire ant, checking for CRB, and hopefully we're not checking for coqui frog, but that happens as well. Then we gather with community and plant the trees. Once the trees are planted, the community groups are responsible for caring for those trees for a minimum of 2 years after the planting date. And basically it's watering twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week on a regular basis. If they have any difficulties with tree growth or insect infestations, they contact us and we dispatch our nursery and landscape folks. Our community forestry program also does replacement tree plantings, again with community. Community forestry replaces trees within the Adopt a Park and street tree community plantings if trees are vandalized or damaged by extreme weather events within that 2-year period. If the trees are deemed hazardous or dead due to poor care by the community groups, they will not be replaced using community forestry resources, but we then move to using resources out of our nursery and landscape budget for tree plantings. Sometimes the community will even replace the trees themselves. Early tree care is something we're just starting. Community forestry coordinates early tree care with community groups. We inspect the trees on a regular basis to ensure that they're healthy. We train the community groups on how to provide early tree care, and that's in the form of watering and sometimes low pruning. Ultimately, early tree care is the community group's responsibility. Trees that are abandoned or deemed hazardous by our qualified arborists will be removed. Community forestry and arboriculture may train the Smart Tree Pacific Citizen Group program to assist Duff with low pruning in high priority areas, specifically starting in the Makiki area. And that's it for our community forestry programs. Do you have any questions?
Members, any questions at this time?
I have a question. I'm just curious if you can share just some of the examples of some of the private entities that you're working with. You mentioned it's public-private partnership.
So far, we've not really worked with any private organizations, mostly nonprofits and community-based organizations.
Okay, and do they reach out to you folks directly just through that Adopt a Park program then? Is that how you solicit them?
Yeah, through the Adopt a Park program, and also we're in community regularly doing training and sitting at tabling events, and they were approached at those kinds of events as well.
Is there an interest in expanding that to more private entities, or are you guys at max capacity?
No, I think we have the capability to expand a bit more. The pinch point is procuring the trees. It's getting harder and harder to find trees in the trade that are large enough to put in a public space. So that's usually the pinch point, but other than that, I think we have space to do more.
Thank you.
maybe that can be another partnership
Mhm.
lens,
Mhm.
Yeah,
in the
Yeah. yeah, and that's where,
supply chain side. What is the vision? Is it like, given all the parks or open spaces, is this like an aggressive, or is there a desire to be very aggressive to engage a lot of groups because we need to get a lot of canopy up, or has there been any assessment or vision of what this canner should look like?
yeah, so part of our tree inventory is to look at canopy cover. The city has a goal to increase canopy cover by 35% by 2035. We don't have any real good measurements after 2014 on our canopy cover. So getting our inventory together and an assessment of our canopy is one of our primary goals. We were given some money from Ed Case's office to go out and get an inventory. The inventory has just been completed. And now we're moving to the analysis of that canopy cover. And that'll tell us what our percentages are. We're assuming we're under 20. Somewhere between 14.
For
and
the park
20%.
side,
For parks and street trees. So just in Honolulu, the city and county of Honolulu in
Okay.
general.
so of the 35%, our parks and tree side are about 20%.
Yeah, about 14 to 20%.
You said that's the whole city, or is that just the parks properties?
It's the city.
The whole city? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
It's a kind of a national goal. 35% is an overall national goal. So our city just picked up that national goal.
Great.
Moving on to horticulture. So there aren't any real changes to our previous presented information, but we did add a brief overview from each of the sections. And you have that in front of you. So the arboriculture section is responsible for maintaining street and park trees and palms island-wide, both in-house and by managing the work of private contractors. We also respond to tree emergencies 24/7. We also perform selective and specialty pruning, root pruning to assist with sidewalk and road repair and other city projects, and review plans for projects that affect the city. On our nursery side, the nursery and landscape section is responsible for propagating and cultivating plants and trees in the city nurseries and tree farms, landscape installation and maintenance, street and park tree planting, and early tree care. We also loan decorative plants for city events and mitigate invasive species using integrated pest management island-wide. So you can see that that group, their work has really expanded with the movement of CRB. But what we have been working, and I believe you have this handout, we've been working on standard operating guidelines. And this is an example of what our guidelines look like. So what we've done is we've taken a look at the guidelines that we should have in place to do our work, and we're either updating them or creating them. So we've prioritized those different guidelines, and we're working on those. Once we're complete, and if you would like to take a look at those guidelines, we would be happy to share them with you. So basically, that's it for an update on our horticultural services side of the house and our community forestry. So I want to turn it over to the director of our botanic gardens.
Okay. So I'm Jocelyn Sand, Director of the Botanical Gardens, sister branch to Horticulture Services under DEF. And I'm sharing with you our functional baseline services for the 5 botanical gardens here from the maintenance perspective. You can see here at the top, we have our mission. The mission of the Honolulu Botanical Gardens is to curate, maintain, and study documented plants in the garden setting for the purposes of conservation, botany, horticulture, education, public enjoyment, and passive recreation. And I just wanted to spend a moment on that. I'm not going to go through this whole thing line by line. We have a lot of presentations today, but I did want to provide context about maintenance in botanical gardens. So through networks of research and conservation organizations like Botanical Garden Conservation International, Center for Plant Conservation, American Public Gardens Association, botanical gardens study and collaborate on some of the most pressing issues of our time, such as invasive species control, plant biodiversity, climate change issues, such as plant adaptation, plant pollinator interactions, seed banking, and distribution of our most vulnerable species. We are also poised to educate and spread awareness of these current issues through direct interaction with our visitors, programs and events, publications, outreach initiatives, and social media. In the US, over 130 million people visit botanical gardens annually. That's more than Disneyland and Disney World combined. Our HBG system is pushing towards 1 million annual visitors right now. For the calendar year 2024, we estimated 899,000 visitors, and that's given our imperfect systems of attendance. We don't have, cashiers at every site, so this is just what we can capture, so it's probably higher. So our attendance is high and our work is vital, but I want to make the point, it all stands on the shoulders of maintenance. I came through the system in plant collections management, and everything, I thought about maintenance more than anything else I thought about. If we got a bag of seeds from another botanical garden, Fairchild, NTBG, the first thing that was in my mind is where am I going to plant it? Who's going to maintain it? How can I keep this going for a perpetual time frame, 75, 100 years. We have trees that are 150 years. So we never stop thinking about maintenance. You don't plant the tree and walk away. Same with Hort Services. It's a lifetime. And it's not just that tree's lifetime, it's the next tree's lifetime. I have a tree right outside my door right now. It's the only one we have. I go out every lunch waiting for a seed to drop because I'm trying to plan for its next gen. So it never ends. So maintenance is everything that we think about, and it can't be overstated how important it is. And so when we did this baseline services, it goes intuitively sort of like an org chart where you've got admin at the top and plant collections, the white collar positions, and then maintenance at the bottom. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that if I could switch this around and make it go the other direction so that you'd understand how important it is, I would do that. So when we went and we did this spreadsheet, I wanted to also put how the units overlap with each other, because none of us work in a silo. The programs unit works with the plant collections unit, works with the maintenance unit, works with the supervisory, and et cetera. So that's why I have the work unit overlap over there on the right-hand side, with A being admin, PC for plant collections, and then M for maintenance. So I'm not going to go through each one, but I did want to kind of give you an idea of scope for the positions. So administration, that's pretty obvious. We do budget and procurement and personnel. We directly oversee the plant collections management team. We do a lot of PR, public relations, that type of thing. That is 4 people. That's 4 full-time positions. That's myself, the director, superintendent, Justin here, and 2 full-time clerical people and a part-time clerical person. Those clerical people also run Foster Gardens 7-day-a-week cashiering operations. So they're kind of in the office and then up there dealing with visitor and guest services and volunteers and docent programs and events, as well as doing our clerical. And then we're moving down to plant collections management. That's 3 employees. That's 1 botanist and 2 horticulturists for all 5 gardens. It's not hierarchical. Those all report directly to me, to the director. And they set our plant collections policy on a broader scale, but also do guidelines and operations similar to this. Everything from testing for little fire ant right now, CRB, keeping spreadsheets, tracking the treatment. They do the nursery procedures, lots of forms, lots of database work, and they also engrave labels and do the intake for any kind of scientific or research requests that we get, and then coordinate that research in the field. And then we have our garden maintenance, and that's 23 employees for all 5 gardens. That's 3 botanical garden supervisors, 1 for Wahiwa, Foster Lilio is combined, and Ho'omalakia. And then out at Cocoa Crater, we have 1 nursery worker 2, which is a working supervisor position. So sort of like 4 supervisors there. We have 4 plant propagators and 15 nursery workers across the system, 5 at Ho'o, 6 at Foster, 3 at Wahiwa, and 1 at Cocoa under the working supervisor. The other thing that we hope to do with this spreadsheet is now that we've isolated all of the Ms and really looked at the jobs that they can sort of perform individually with less interaction with programs or plant collections. We're going to be looking at growing that workforce in different ways. And then maybe we might be able to consider some other positions besides nursery worker ones that may deal with, just as you know from the previous presentations that we did, how much time we spend on mowing and bathrooms. We may be able to have sort of a career ladder in different positions that might be able to get things done a little more efficiently in that regard, thereby freeing up our nursery worker ones to engage more with the plant collections and do more of this elevated work that they just cannot get to as the system is set up right now. So that's our baseline services. And if you have any questions, I'll stop there on that. It's a lot to digest, so I'm not going to go through everything, but it is there for you.
Board members, any questions?
And then we have, oh, sorry.
Well, I had a question on the previous, on the dunes. Like, how many parks total are at jeopardy of the dune slide with the graphic? Like, how many? Yeah,
Dune restoration.
dune
Right
restoration.
now, we're only working on one, that's at Kailua,
So only Kailua.
Beach, but basically
Oh,
the
wow.
whole windward side, for
Okay.
sure. And it wraps around, it's hitting the North Shore as well.
Mhm.
We see a little bit on the west side, but not as much,
Mhm.
but it's just a matter of time.
Right, okay. I just didn't know how many current operations you guys are working on. Like, just
Right now,
Kailua.
just the Kailua, which is a huge dune.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's set, I think, in 4 phases.
Okay, great, thank you.
For the botanical gardens, I'm just curious, what's your biggest challenge?
Right now, it's invasive species and tree care. We've had some abuse. Can I talk? We had, we have some procurement challenges with tree contracts right now, and we're backlogged on, there's a lack of vendors. You know, when I started out 500 years ago, there were a lot of tree companies, and we're down to 2 on the master agreement right now. And yeah, and so that's a real problem for us. We're just really inundated with weed species, especially at home here, and we can't keep up because we don't have, 5 people. They've got to do the restrooms and bathrooms and all that stuff. So that's our biggest thing right now. And then the CRB is taking an incredible amount of time because we're treating our palms. And so that's on a regular schedule. So I would say that's it, staffing in the invasive species.
And the vendors.
Yeah, that's an industry-wide problem that actually our Hort Services side have done a lot of good work trying to do what they can to, get involved with training. They've been involved with some arborist certification training at Windward Community College, trying to get a pipeline, a workforce pipeline to kind of grow that industry. But it's, it's hard because it's insurance and fuel and draining of the workforce everywhere. So we try to impact it, but we're limited in what we can do for sure. But they're changing the way some of our contracts are constructed, which might allow more people to bid. We used to have these big, huge, like 5 or 6 massive Schedule A lists, and they're breaking that up into smaller. We're trying to pivot for the industry and make smaller contracts.
Yeah, so that's a small 3 guys in a truck
Yeah.
can bid.
Yeah.
Instead of the
Yeah.
big
Wow.
companies, those big companies have really shrunk down.
Mhm.
Since COVID, it's gotten really hard to
Yeah.
find companies. So we're trying to scale down our contracts, make them smaller. We can be more nimble,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll get more people to bid on those contracts.
So it's gotta be reinvented.
Yeah, question, Chair. So you said the people that are cleaning the bathrooms and whatnot, and it would be better for them if you could like divert them into different tasks, is that right?
Well, we're spending so much time on the bathrooms and mowing that they can't do a lot of these other tasks that we would like to, have done to keep the collections at an elevated level.
Are they trained up to handle a lot of the elevated level stuff, the people that are like cleaning the
Good
bathroom?
question. Some are, some of the longer, one have been there longer,
Mhm.
some of the ones that are newer have come in and this is all they know is scrambling to get, the bathrooms and get that kind of, certainly the propagators are definitely trained because they do this kind of work more often.
Mhm.
And then our nursery worker 2s and some of the older, employees, but the newer ones are getting exposed to just a lot of that basic maintenance for the most part, and it's hard.
Yeah, I guess my thought was, I wonder if you could contract out the custodial services or equipment maintenance if you have qualified people that you can't find to
Yeah,
contract out,
yeah,
like contract the custodial side
Right.
and then use those staff
We're a
to,
union shop.
yeah,
You can't.
there's your problem.
We're a union shop.
so you could contract out the tree stuff, but not the custodial stuff.
Yeah, because that's been done so it was easy for us to get that through. But because we have employees that are already doing that kind of work, it would be hard.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm just trying to help problem solve.
I get it.
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
I'll take anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll think about it,
yeah, yeah,
because it would make sense,
I
right?
know, yeah. So,
Yeah, especially because on the other side of our house, on the PMRS side, they have those same positions, right? So it would be difficult.
Yeah, I guess because you guys are such a large department. I guess if you guys
We're
were a
big.
small department.
Right.
Yeah, it would be a different story. Yeah. Okay, cool.
a good question, thank you for
Any other questions?
that. Okay, and then I just had one more in the spirit of writing things down. We have an operational guideline, just a sample. I think we already shared our bathroom one earlier when we were starting out on mowing the bathrooms, but here's another sample of just opening duties at Wahiwa. You know, we have a lot of written guidelines in the plant collections unit, and of course, admin has a lot of things already written, but a lot of the maintenance stuff is kind of intellectual property that's walking around in someone's brain, and taking the time to do this exercise and writing it down is going to be really great for training and for person TAing and, you know, just bringing people on boarding, and also time management, kind of really being able to see where the time is being spent. So this is the Wahiwa opening duty one, and there's more to come on that.
This
On
is
that
the
sphere.
responsibility of how many staff? One?
This would be 2, 3, 2 and a 2. This is not one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a
lot.
2-person. And he has caveats in here. If he only has one person, it changes. There's a few like adjustments that they'll build in because attendance does flux. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Sorry.
so next up on our agenda, we'll be shifting to maintenance standard operating
I don't
procedures.
know where it's in the can.
Salo?
All right, good morning. Kala Awana. I'll be presenting on the progress in our continued efforts relating to our mowing and field quality standards. As far as mowing frequency goes, you know, kind of discussing our mowing schedule, our standard of what we want our frequency to be, versus our reality of what we're actually doing right now. And then also our strategy that we're kind of doing to overcome some of the obstacles that we have. On the next page, or one of the handouts, you'll see actually our mowing schedule. There's actually gonna be mowing schedules for all of the districts. This is just to give you guys an example of the mowing that's happening in the districts, the amount of crew members that we have per mowing crew, the amount of parks that they take care of. And that's just to give you guys an idea of what our mowing crews are going through. So in order to kind of really look at what we needed to do to overcome a lot of our stuff, we met with all of our mowing crews again. We met with the supervisors to see what we could really do to help them, or they can help us to meet our standard of getting our fields cut at least once a week. As you look at the calendar or their schedule, you know, these are a lot of fields that they're taking care of. And, you know, in looking at that, we just was working with them to see how we can get it to that once a week. Can it be done? Is it being done right now? In some areas, yes. In some areas, no. Really, the average that we're looking at is about a field being cut once every 1.5 weeks is kind of the average that we're at. A lot of this has to do with either lack of staffing, you know, equipment, and other obstacles, whether it be the weather and stuff like that in the area. So when we looked at our schedules, we met with these guys to see what we can change in the schedules to help meet that once a week. Some areas we could because we had enough staffing where we adjusted where they were cutting each day that, to get us there. It's fairly brand new, so we're still seeing if it's working or not right now. So I hope to have an update for you guys at the next meeting. We are hiring guys. We're constantly in that hiring process of getting more operators and stuff. For example, when we put this together, we had that vacant position. As of last week, I believe that vacant position was just filled. So we can kind of get back on track to where we want to be in meeting that once a week cutting standard. So in the event that, we do have some type of obstacles, sometimes we have rain that lasts for a week or whatever. We've tried to see what we can do to get our fields cut in a timely manner. As of right now, majority of our mowing crews kind of have their own way of doing things and how they identify the fields that they're gonna cut first. When they do run into these obstacles, whether it be guys on vacation, weather and stuff. So, and identifying as more of a first to cut field or first to service field kind of a thing. They've identified it as, especially with mowing crews, the fields that tend to grow faster. They'll get out there and do those more often. High permitted fields, they've kind of identified the fields that have more usage and higher permits being issued to those areas. So they're kind of take care of that and then kind of go down the line as they try to get back on their schedule of what they're doing. With that, we're trying to come up with a basic standard of how we identify these, I guess you could say, first to service fields. Because we don't want to take away from any of the other fields and say this field is more important than another field because everybody's sport, is important to them and what they do. So one of our ideas is maybe looking at the highest 10% permitted fields in a certain district would get that first to service first, make sure we're getting those done because we know they're highly permitted, they're highly used, and then kind of work our way down to some of the parks that, are real small, don't have as high usage, especially with our kids and playing their sports. So we're still working on that standard and getting there. So if you look at the schedule, this is our District 4. This runs from Makapu'u all the way up to Mokuleia. So we just, as I said, we got one more person that was filled. So we have 5 mowing crew operators that take care of this entire section. As you can see, this is each part that they try to take care of for each day. If they're not able to take care of it that day, they'll move on to the next set of parks for the next day and then they try to come back and take care of it again. Most areas, Friday is kind of considered their catch-up day, along with their maintenance of their mowers and equipment that they use. So a lot of times what's happening right now is there's no catch-up day. Per se, there's no free day for just equipment cleaning and stuff. It's really Friday is a catch-up day. In making sure that at least we're getting our fields cut to once a week standard. Any questions regarding the schedules or anything like that?
Have you seen the standard get better since you guys have kind of taken a look and done a deeper dive? Or has the response time been better in the past year?
Well,
Since you started?
Since I've started, I don't get to see that complaint. So if maybe one of the district managers could tell me.
I don't
Are we
think
on the
so.
right
Yeah, I
direction or
don't
in the
think so.
wrong direction?
Right.
It just actually this kind of is just coming together within the last couple months.
Yeah.
So I think right now it's just putting it together to get the baseline, and then try to see what we can do to improve it. But it hasn't really, there's been no effect as
No
of yet.
Okay.
Like I said, a lot of this changing of the schedules have just taken effect within the last 2 to 3 weeks. So,
Okay.
And then we're finally getting some employees hired to fill these vacant positions that we have in these different districts. So with that, we're hoping that that'll help with that mowing standard and quality too.
And so this is good. Just to recap, I think all of last year, it was really internal focused on, so what's going on, what are our assets, our people assets, our equipment assets. Knowing that these standards are somewhere we're wanting to work towards, we took large part of last year to kind of understanding internally what's there and then kind of formulating their strategies on how, the maintenance groups would want to respond to help advance those efforts on standards. And yeah, so I think this year is the first, starting this year, right, is kind of when they're employing some of these new strategies, opportunities to get their data considered and captured, and then tweaking for operational efficiencies or adjusting strategies to continue to progress along those desired standards. And then somewhere in the near future, I think, that push in community input and partnerships to help, in addition to the efforts within the DPR, help to support a lot of the maintenance goals. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
So since this is new, I'm just wondering if maybe we can get an update, in a few months of just how this is working, and what the feedback is like, because I think this is a great schedule, and I'd just like to understand a little bit more about if it is working.
The reality.
Are these,
Yeah.
are these the current schedule?
These are the current schedules.
So I don't think
In
these-
their packet, there was, well, some of them are updated based off of our talks that we've had the last few weeks. As we're able to get more employees on, those schedules will tend to change too, but to get with your question, how is the change of these schedules
Yeah.
working? Absolutely, we can have an update for you by our next meeting.
Great.
Yeah. Or maybe the next couple meetings.
Raining right now a lot.
Yeah, it's rainy
we're not-
season, yeah. We gotta get to
be
summer
off,
and
yeah.
then we can tell you a little better.
I mean, I think it's hard too, though, because we have to consider like the time that our mowers are down. And when it goes down, it's typically not 1 week, it's multiple weeks or months. And so we have to adjust, trying to figure, and then if it's raining, it's like, so it takes a lot of coordination. So I know they're doing an asset management now to try to inventory, like how many mowers do we have? Like how many more would we need to get to this one point that we're trying to achieve,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also how long do the mowers last
Yeah.
too?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Was there any more? Did you want to share? No?
Oh, as far as the schedule, that's it, but I'll be continuing with, yeah.
Oh, you're not pouting.
No, I'm not pouting.
Okay.
I still got
Okay,
that.
okay, okay.
Yeah, so, as we've been going through it, we haven't only been looking at the schedules, but we also been looking at our equipment and the vital role that it plays in our mowing quality, our mowing frequency. So we've been really doing a deep dive into what we can do, knowing that, there's certain things that we cannot handle or cannot control, I should say, if our machine goes down, we cannot control how long it's gonna take to be fixed and given back to us. But we can control what we're doing now with our equipment to make sure that we're doing preventive maintenance, so it doesn't have to be down as long, or it doesn't even have to go in for that kind of maintenance. So in talking with our mowing crew, you had some crews, everybody does their checks every day that they're supposed to be done. They'll come in, do a pre-check of their mower, make sure, it's being greased, their filters are clean, things to that effect. But there was nothing that was really set that we really had that it was documented. So in talking with them, everybody knew what to do, they were trained what to do, but it wasn't really documented. So when we had something go wrong and we asked them like, hey, when was the last time you guys did this? Oh, well, yesterday. Well, where's the documentation? Oh, we don't have it. So we've kind of set it up where now we came up with a document. It's nothing new. We worked with our both our automotive equipment services guys, along with our maintenance services guys. Our AES, which is automated equipment services, they take care of our bigger lawnmowers, or our maintenance support services take care of our smaller mowers, as far as maintenance and stuff. So I worked with both of them to come up with what lists can they follow as a guideline to making sure that we're doing the daily check. So if you guys look, you guys do have a copy of what that daily check looks like. It hasn't been fully implemented as we're still making sure that we go down the line in who's gonna be responsible for checking these, who's gonna be responsible for keeping a folder and record of these. But as of right now, this is what majority of the mooring operators, they liked it. It was something that could help them. So they've kind of implemented it on their own until we can really push it forward. And this is just to help. So, we told them, this is documentation that we need when we're asking for new equipment and showing them that, yeah, we got tons of hours because they've been using it. It's old and stuff. This is our way of documenting that when we push things up, that we have the backing to get them that new equipment that's needed. So this is an example of the trip sheet that's up there that you guys will find inside you guys' folder with handouts. So this is kind of our precursor to what Tara was saying as we come up with our full inventory of all our assets to, see what year they came in, the hours and usage of it, and we can get a better idea and better system for us and when the new orders for equipments need to go in, so that we don't have moors that's out there for 20, 25 years when a lot of the times the expected life on it is more 5 to 10 years, depending on the moor and its usage. So we've been really working on that, trying to see what we can do now and then moving forward with that. You guys have any questions on the equipment side before I move on to the specialized field care?
I just get one. So
Yeah.
right now, you guys collecting this. Who has it? Who's keeping track of it?
So the mowing supervisors
The supervisors.
in that area, and if there is not a mowing supervisor, it's kind of falling on top of I think it's the superintendent in that area. That they're kind of collecting and keeping track of it. We do have a log already that they do a checklist or a trip sheet, I should say, for their trucks and their trailers that they do daily. So what we're really doing is we want to take this, provide them with that book for the moors. That way, all of that comes, it all gets put together and it gets filed just like how that vehicle trip sheet gets done daily.
It's not being used yet, though. Correct.
Some areas have, some mowing crews have done it just so that they can do it, but we don't have anything set specifically that's been implemented that they have to do it as of right now.
Because I would think the supervisors seeing it would help them plan and budget their regular maintenance, just to help your machine stay out.
Yeah.
If they never escape.
So every 100 hours, our machines, it's recommended that our machines go in for servicing. It's called the 100-hour servicing, whether it be 100 hours or 6 months, whichever comes first, that is the recommended. The problem that we're having with that is that if we do put it in for servicing, some areas do not have the spare mowers to cut while that mower is down. So then it backs us stuff. And we've been working with it, trying to see what we can do to make sure that it doesn't affect, but it does, as of right now, affect our cutting. And we're not telling them don't service, because mowers need to be serviced. But that's kind of the things that we're looking at with our mooring operators, where some of them don't want to turn it in because now they're not going to be able to cut their area, or that's a whole schedule that we have to make for that.
Another question. So are you guys from district to district? Are you able to borrow from, if a mower breaks in Kailua and you don't have enough, can you borrow from Wynot or no?
As of right now, there are districts that are loaning equipment to other districts, whether it be trucks, mowers, trailers, to help with their operation. But we don't have enough spares in each district that whenever a machine or something goes down, that they can just take. So
It's by district. It's like a silo.
it's really by district, but other districts do help out.
Okay.
So everything that's assigned, so if your mowers and stuff, everything is assigned to that district and within that district. So from that district, if another district needs something, they're more than happy to give, as long as they have get their
ops.
operations
Yeah.
complete.
So your folks' maintenance is by contract or,
It's in-house.
oh, you guys
Yeah.
gotta put out for bid or you guys get on service contract?
No,
It's like their staff.
it's staff, city and county staff.
Oh,
So the big mowers, if you guys go up Halava, where the bus station and stuff used to be up there, that's the big, for all the big equipment. And then in Pro City, with our maintenance support services, they have an area that they do our servicing of the smaller mowers.
What's
So
the
some is
turnaround?
through DFM. So facility maintenance, that's the big ones.
Mhm.
And then parks, that's the smaller ones.
No. And turnaround time for them is,
Oh, geez.
Good luck.
maybe you should
It's
contract.
Is that another union thing? You can't contract that out?
It's a union thing.
Yeah.
As long as there's staff that's available to do the work.
Mm.
There are opportunities, I've seen opportunities in other government positions that I've been in, where after a certain time frame, then they can allow you to contract out. So that's something we gotta take a look at. We're gonna be looking closer at how we procure our equipment, and then looking at replacement schedules so that instead of waiting for the machine to go down, we're replacing them before they go down. And I think that'll be helpful. Yeah, and then seeing if we can't work with DFM to say, if you can't get it done within 60 days and we're allowed to contract it out, that might help as well. That has helped in other positions that I've been in, where we have the ability to do that. Or if they take a look at the machine and they say it's too big, or they don't have the resources to have inventory parts, then they'll allow to contract out. But that's something we have to take into discussion with other departments. So first focusing on what we can do, and then looking further down the line on how we can work with our partners better.
Thank you.
So, we talk about our goals, and our biggest long-term goals is to bring up the quality of our fields. Whether, higher quality for all of our fields. So we actually met with our maintenance services team, who does our specialized field care. In this instance, is more of the renovation work to our fields. They take care of the weed management, aeration, verticutting, rolling, top dressing, seeding, and fertilization as part of, our full renovation project that we would do on a field. So, looking at our budget and staffing, and then, comparing it to our short and long-term goals, our MSS department has, fallen into one of those areas where they don't have the enough staffing for us to really do what we need to get done. So we're trying to work on ways to get this work still done, and we've been looking at other options. So in meeting with MSS, you'll see in the slide and in your guys' stuff, the work that they do, what it takes to get it done, and about how long it takes for it to get done also. So with that, we're able to see, okay, what can we do that they need to do? What can we do to maybe get, outside help? Similar to Duff, where they have contractors who do a certain percentage of the work, what can we do? Can we bring contractors in to do maybe one of these things? If we take care of the fertilization or the weed and stuff like that, what can we do to get maybe a contractor to come in to do the aeration or, verticutting, whatever it is that's in these steps. But at the same time, what is it that we can do to get the community and the sports groups and stuff involved in doing some of these things also? We're very protective of our parks and what a lot of these groups come in and do. You have your goods and you have your bads. We had experience with one of our fields where a group came in. They thought they were doing good with the relining of the baseball, the running line and stuff, which ended up cutting it wider than it was supposed to be. And it ended up being more work that had to be done from our side. So in working with these community groups, we want to make sure that, we have it set on exactly what they can do, have a way that we can work with them and train them in these areas of how that work gets done. And then we can rely on them also in getting some of these things done, because we realize from our end, that the crew that we have to do it is a very small crew, and they're not a dedicated crew to just renovate field renovation. They're also out there doing other types of works that, where we would have them doing weed spraying and stuff. They're doing the same thing at other parks for other things. And it's not just parks, but all over. MSS also takes care of our plumbing and all that kind of stuff too. So because they're kind of specialized, although their focus might be on this, they may get pulled in an emergency to help with other areas too. So with that, when we do plan things, sometimes they don't always get focused on that. Sometimes they get pulled, which delays what we're trying to get done on certain fields. So seeing that, what's happening, we really got to work with MSS, kind of target what things that we can do. And then from there, and Robert, you and I have talked, so trying to maybe put together a focus group where with the different sports teams and how we can come together and, really focus on what we can do in the parks to get this done.
I just had a question on, it appears there's like a bill at the city hall about sponsorships for these parks. And I know you're probably not the expert on that, but is that maybe talked about where, maybe a sports league could help pay for some of this maintenance and then they sponsor the field,
I know we have our Adopt a Park program, and that's more fitting for organizations that want to come in, especially sport leagues that want to come in and help. Versus, I guess, my interpretation of the sponsor is more maybe a bigger, but that doesn't prohibit from it, I'll just pick a ABC store field,
Yeah.
and they contribute money or time and resources for helping in improving the park. I don't know do you know where that is?
It's
Lori?
still in committee.
Sun Committee.
So, yeah, so the challenge with the sponsorship bill is there's a time limit to it and there's an agreement attached to it. So, internally as well as at the committee, they're still kind of discussing some of the nuances on it because it actually sunshined out earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the previous way they did sponsorship, people they had a hard time using it. So I think they're trying to draft it now, the sponsorship ordinance, so that more people use it.
Yeah.
Versus not using it, but there's a time limit, like, right now, I think it's 5 years and under.
But I want to say that Laura and Ted have been thinking about how to incorporate the needs of our parks into that sponsorship bill. So it's not so limiting, or it's just dollar amounts, et cetera. And how that would be different from our Adopt a Park program. So yeah, that's still working its way through council.
And I guess my last question was the maintenance support services team, is that understaffed as well? Just the amount of maintenance people to go around? That seems like one of the more understaffed departments.
We have our new administrator behind you, Peter Yamashita. He'll introduce, I'm sure one day he will be speaking and presenting to you. But yeah, filling that position there will help at least see the needs and identify the needs, if not even reorganizations, to have that more global look at the division.
Yeah.
Working with Laura and Ted about how to take it to the next level based on the needs.
Excited to work with you.
It is a challenge to hire those type of specialized people for these type of.
Maintenance care, yeah. That's what it seems like. Thank you.
Yeah, is there, I know I'm excited about I know there's challenges with just the community partnership with clubs, because I think the reality is they're doing stuff out there anyway, not my team, but other groups.
You sure?
But yeah, they're doing stuff and they're passionate and they want to do it the right way. And so I think there can be a win-win there. And I'm just wondering, even, with regards to resources and funds that are out there, if there's even a way for groups, club organizations, they have to raise so much money, right, to get to the mainland, to enter local tournaments, to buy uniform, offset costs from families who can't afford equipment. I mean, there's lots of things that coaches absorb and clubs absorb. And so if that can be a, you know, I don't know if that's possible or how that might be possible, but I think they're already, I think, energized to keep the parks well maintained because they want the kids to play on the best possible surfaces. But if there's also opportunities for them to kind of offset, you know, club fees and things like that, that would also be, I think, a great motivator for, doing things right, the right way, and being good partners. So anyway, just some thoughts from what I think I see.
We've done some partnerships with, especially with the Whitefield soccer field, where the groups would donate like the dirt or the sand
Yeah,
for the project, and our guys would go out and
and do
use
it,
it. Yeah,
Kainalu was one too, I think got some donations. And
yeah.
they helped to, you know, do the field.
I think in general, we're open to those kind of, you know, donations and assistance when it comes out to.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah, no, that's it from me.
Anything?
I tried to keep it shorter than that.
That's really good, though. It's good to see the transition from kind of the internal look and assessment to really pushing out some ideas and strategies. And now, you know, I think it's a good idea that we shared, you know, reporting back in 6 months on what is the data telling us, or what are users telling us too? Are there any noticeable difference the clubs are seeing, the families and parents are seeing, you know? Would be all helpful, I think, in an update. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Gala. You. Okay, and then now, we're shifting over to athletic fields and green spaces.
Sorry, that was my
Sorry.
error. Sorry. Just
okay.
the bathroom. Sorry, it's
Oh,
just the
sorry.
bathrooms. I missed up on my script.
Oh, okay, so there's bathrooms
apologies.
first?
There's just bathroom.
Just bathroom.
Oh, just
Just
bathroom.
And
Tara.
then we're
Miss
done.
Tara's
Oh,
next.
just Tara, okay,
Nice.
My apologies.
okay. Tara?
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Tara Hirohata, East Honolulu District Manager. So from the last meeting, we were discussing the types of cleaning that we do for our bathrooms. Right now, we're just focusing on bathrooms. So during the last couple of months, we worked with the maintenance supervisors to kind of go over and come up with specific directions for each task. So for the daily cleaning directions, so we determined that there was 2 different types of cleaning. So it was a daily cleaning, which is done at least once per shift, more often as needed. And then we had the refresh or the call-in, which was, you know, prior to staff going home, or if we got a call saying that our bathrooms were dirty, then we would send the staff back out. So we came up with specific directions for each task. So I'm not gonna go through everything, but as an example, so for the daily cleaning directions, you'll see what the task is. So like the task is to disinfect the walls and floors. We put down the products that we're gonna use, which would be green clean or lavender quat, the type of supplies that we would need, and then the directions. So like to disinfect the walls, it would be to use proper PPE, which would be eye protection and gloves. Using a spray bottle or handheld sprayer, we would spray the walls and floors with the disinfectant. And then we would either use a doodle bug or a scouring pad to scrub the walls down, and use a deck brush to scrub the floors. We'd shoot down with water using the water hose, and then lastly, we'd use a squeegee or a push broom to direct the water on the floor, either inside the floor drain or outside the comfort station onto the grass. So it's broken down for the cleaning, you know, the different types of stuff that we need to do for that. And then the next slide. So the next slide is the same thing, but it's for the refresh or call-in for the cleaning directions. So it's pretty much the same, except when we're doing the refresh or the call-in, basically we're going in and we're inspecting our facility. So we're inspecting for dirt, food, bodily fluids, you know, rubbish or debris, and then we'll take care of that and then move on to our cleaning if it's needed. So you can, I'm not going to read through all of that, but so the next thing we're working on is reminder cards. So this is basically going to be used. Oh, wait, sorry, I'll break. Did you guys have any questions on that?
These are new, like this.
So what I added in basically is the specific direction. So that
Okay.
last panel,
Okay,
that's
The
all
steps.
new. Yeah.
Okay.
So just the steps is new. Everything else is the same. But we just kind of broke it down. So it's a lot more for like our new employees, right? So we're bringing them in, we do like a new employee orientation, but at least this gives them like step by step on what they want to do. And it's not, they don't have to follow it, but it's a good guideline for them.
okay. Thank you.
I just had a question. I think last committee meeting, we talked about like equipment. And you guys, did you end up talking about using power washers or are you guys using the hose still? But I remember we talked
We're
about.
currently still using the hoses for more of the daily stuff. They do power washing, so we did an inventory of all our power washers that we currently have in stock. I guess our next step for that is to focus on how we're gonna implement it, because we wanna do it once a month. So based off of what we're told with the current equipment that we have, it can be done. So it's just gonna come down to working it with the groundskeeping guys and how we can put that into their schedule to doing it at that once a month standard schedule. Right now, they're doing it more of on a quarterly to maybe biannually basis.
Okay.
So to really get that in place is what we're still working on for that with the power washer.
That's great. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. So what we're working on now, these are just samples. I haven't done all of them, but for each task, what we're gonna be creating are like these reminder cards. So they're kind of small. They're like this. We'll laminate and then we'll give it to each groundskeeper. So it's just kind of like a little, cheat sheet. If they're brand new and they forget what they're supposed to be doing, then they'll all have these little cards here. And they can use that as to kind of help them guide them through the day. So I just did a sample for the sink cleaning. So it's basically the directions that we did in the previous slide. And then we're also working on training videos. So for each task, there'll be training videos, and then at the end, we will combine it all together. Because a lot of times, like when we're cleaning the bathrooms, we might scrub down all the sinks. And when you watch this video, you're gonna see them using their hands to wash it off. But in reality, what probably happens is we scrub down the sinks, the toilets, we do all that. And then when we're shooting down at the end, we're shooting down with the water hose. So it's a little bit easier for them. But just for this video and training purposes, we're gonna separate, but then at the end, I'll combine all the videos together. So just kind of like one video to show.
Good
So
idea.
we'll do one video. We just did one video. Sorry, I didn't have time to do any more, but this is just a sample video on how to clean sinks.
We can't watch.
I have it on my phone if it doesn't work.
Wow.
So very cool too.
No,
I have to get
Is that
out
my
of
PowerPoint
PowerPoint.
or is it deactivated?
That's a good idea.
It may not be. Can you copy and paste it into, copy and paste into Google?
So is it public facing YouTube? For like anyone watching?
Is it
It's
public?
it's on our
Yeah.
site. I
Is
think
it?
we put it on our DPR site,
Cool.
so that it was easier to download.
People around the world could learn how.
You wanna-
The standards.
So with the video, so the plan with the video is as we do the new employee orientation and even with our existing staff, that we would show them the video. So it kind of gives them an idea on, what it's like to clean the video. And when we did it on a bathroom that's our typical bathroom, right? We didn't do it on one of our brand new bathrooms that we just opened up because it's not realistic, So it's a little bit more realistic. It's not gonna be the best, but at least we know that it was cleaned thoroughly. Do you want me to do it on my phone?
Hold on, I'm trying, there, let's see if it.
Okay.
Oh, hang on.
Like drag it over.
I have to share it first, but
The following are the steps in clean.
hang on, sorry.
Well, at least it
We're getting
plays.
there.
At least it plays.
cleaning the sinks in the park bathroom. Step 1,
You
use
got a screen, yeah, you're on screen two.
I am screen.
I saw two in the corner.
Yeah. So. Whose voice is on the video?
Yeah.
Okay, so it started with, I asked one of my staff to do it. They're like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, we can block out your face. No, I'm not gonna do it.
proper
That's somebody else that will do it, an employee. I was like, okay. And when we asked him, he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it.
cream cleanser to
So we actually got one of our,
or sponge.
Trying to explore.
grounds maintenance supervisors to do it,
nice.
yeah.
Sorry, it's not, they're not gonna let me share it.
Okay,
Can you turn your computer? Is
Yeah,
it on the
I am.
computer?
Yeah,
Or the laptop?
Okay.
Yeah. Had good staff. There you go. I can see it.
can you see it?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get the button to work now.
There you go.
The following are the steps in cleaning the sinks in the park bathroom. Step 1, use proper PPE gloves. Step 2, apply a small amount of cream cleanser to a scouring pad or sponge. Step 3, gently rub cream cleanser on sink surface to loosen soils. Step 4, rinse cream cleanser off with water. Smile and have a nice day.
That's awesome. Good job. Yeah. Good job.
So our next steps will be to create these videos for all of our tasks. So we gotta thank Mark Koga, because he put together the video for us. And Devin Komatsubara was our actor in that. But yeah, so we're gonna finish completing. So the next things that we'll do is complete all the reminder cards for each task. And then I'll work on creating videos for each task and then putting it all together. And then hopefully we will begin to start rolling this out with our new employees. Yeah. You guys have any questions?
Are there, part of it too, I think, is, our kulena. Those who use the bathrooms to go in there with, respect. I don't know if there's, I can't recall, are there signs like, like Malamadis facility or?
No.
When they're, I'm sure those things can get torn down and, drawn on and stuff, but I feel like, maybe now, there's growing mindsets around it's what is it? It's our facility, but it's all of our hands, Malamadis facility. And so things like that, I think could be beneficial. I don't know if,
Yeah.
any thought there?
We can look into that, yeah.
My comment was gonna be similar to Robert's too. I just think that there's so much attention from the community and ensuring that the restrooms are maintained properly. I actually really like this video and, I'm not sure if you even thought about like a public campaign even, sharing this type of information or what our city and county workers do to maintain our restrooms and keep them up to date because obviously it's so important to our community. So I think this is a great job though. It's a great first step.
Thank you.
I guess on that front too, I feel it'd be with that sign idea, having sort of like a customer facing or, person using the bathroom facing, like if they wanted to call into, was it 311? Yeah, just like, especially like visitors that don't know about 311, like, oh, if you notice something that needs cleaning, like call this number to report it. Because I feel that I'm sure people, when they go, they want to tell someone like, hey, this is wrong, but they don't know who to call or whose responsibility it is. So to have sort of Yeah, maybe on the same exact sign, yeah, if you're noticing something, call
Yeah.
311 or to DPR.
Any other questions? boys? Okay, if not, mahalo nui. I think that ends. right,
Yes, that's all
our
for the
agenda.
presentation. Right, now it's your discussion.
Okay, open to discussion for future topics, or future discussions for the Committee of Maintenance Improvements and Partnerships. Board members, are there any other topics, that you'd like to discuss?
This will be for your June meeting.
Yeah.
Gotta think ahead,
Ancient
Trevor.
way, I know.
So we already got the September meeting for the update.
Yes.
Any thoughts on what you'd like to see discussed, in June?
Well, I would love to hear from the new gentleman who's new hire and your new team and some of the issues you guys face. And 'cause I think when you hear from the community, that's one of the things of like the maintenance side of it, right? Whether it's a fountain, whether it's a toilet. Like how are we making sure that it's before it breaks? How do we keep it maintained? I know in Waikiki, where I spend most of my time, there's these fountains that they come and fix them, but then it's like there's not that proper maintenance that happens throughout the month, and then they break again, and then you gotta come fix it. But if, that was just the thought that came into my head, but yeah, what does that schedule look like? How are we, staffing it up, and what's kind of that cadence to make sure that before things break, right? How are we maintaining it? So.
Is this ornamental fountains or drinking?
Well, both. I feel like there are drinking fountains that are broken, that have been broken for years, and then the big, huge.
Water fountain.
Yeah,
The decorative one.
yeah. And they work, and then they come and fix them, and then. like,
Somebody
this is that.
decides to vandalize them.
Yeah,
One
someone
thing,
puts a
yeah.
t-shirt in a toilet and then boom, it's broken, yeah. So. But yeah, I'd love to learn about more of that.
I'd love to chat more about the partnership side, like how would we approach partnerships with parks and groups, there's the big one, I think Corp and, Hans and some other ones, those are probably off limits, but what would be the types of parks that could be suitable for partnerships? What could be some of the things that community groups could do? And what could be the things that they can't, we don't want them to do, and any, what could be benefits on both sides? Just things like that. I would love to explore that further and maybe try to take it into action, sometime this year would be great.
Is it specifically for fields or like in general?
I'd say fields, we're not touching gyms yet, yeah, so maybe football, soccer, baseball field areas.
Athletic-
I don't know about the open,
athletic,
maybe the open one, I don't know. Open spaces are used by maybe clubs, or I don't know. if they're
Yeah.
Used by,
Well, I
I
know-
know for sure the designed competitive fields are probably the ones that we have club use and interests. Do you want to see?
Well, I was gonna say, even just like the open parks, I feel that I'm sure there's partnership organizations, I don't know, like canoe clubs or
Yeah.
people that I'm thinking of Access Surf,
Yeah.
right? And they do like work with disabled surf
Yeah.
competitions, but they use Kuhio Beach Park for a lot of their competitions. And I'm sure they would want to partner in fixing something up, painting graffiti. But that's, not a field, but that's like a park that maybe a nonprofit might use, so.
So user-based, basically, because you have your athletics, you have your canoe groups, and then you have other people that use the park.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for any other reason, well, not the illegal commercial activity one, but.
Partner with them too.
The people have legitimate park permits to use the park, and they might be interested in doing that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So people that hold big, large events like the Sujin, for Race for the Cure, whatever partnership they can give back to the impact they have on Kapilani Park would be one. Or if they have something on the Leeward Coast, some partnership there. I'm sure the district managers all know their different
Yeah.
uses.
Are you thinking more like a 1-day community service or?
I'm thinking ongoing.
Okay, so like an adopt a
Baseball
park
season's
then.
coming up, or football or soccer season's coming up. And there's a 3-month window that they're
Yeah.
the clubs or the groups will be accessing that. Can they do A, B, C, D, E, F,
Yeah.
during that
Yeah.
time to really upkeep? And not just things on the field, I mean, stands, out, where the crowds or families gather, cleaning stuff. What are some things that if they were to have that stewardship for their season,
Okay.
they could do, and it could possibly offset some of the workforce strain.
So it'd be like during their permitted time. then,
Yeah, maybe we can link
Okay.
it, that's a strategy, link it to permitting time.
So there is one group that's doing that currently at Manoa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's during their permitted time that they're allowed to like cut the grass.
Mhm.
But what we basically have to do is just set the parameters, right? Like this is what you can do. But then at the end, you have to restore the park back to us, how it was given to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, something like that.
I think it'd be cool to have like a 1-pager for like if a soccer club
Yeah.
wants to do that too, then like this is the step-by-step guide on
Yeah.
how to do that. Yeah. I'm sure other organizations would wanna step up.
Could help with prioritizing.
Yeah.
Right, like, who wants to play the lead
Yeah.
role here, right,
And help out.
and. Yeah. Did I say that loud?
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
You know, like, I'm thinking, ooh,
I
I'm
don't-
gonna do this one, let's see.
Yeah, I know.
Cause I know there's competing interests, right?
Of
Like
course,
clubs and stuff.
of course.
I don't know, oops.
Caught your comment too.
Get some feedback.
Or maybe that could tie into the sponsorship bill, if like director and deputy director wanna take a look at.
Well, actually, so sponsorship is kind of like basically you want to put an entity's name on a city asset. That's what it kind of boils down to.
Mm.
Whereas like what you guys folks are talking about sounds really
Park.
like expanding to adopt a park, kind of an expansion of an adoptive park. Not exactly maybe what we have, but maybe kind of expanding that to kind of include some of these things. Because we already have a lot of documents, forms, and experience. We have a great adoptive park person, Denny Higa. He needs more help, dropping the plug for him, he needs a staffer. But I think that's really falls really in line with adoptive park. Community services also falls under adoptive park.
Mhm.
That one-time kind of community projects and stuff.
But isn't Adopt a Park like it's all year and it's one organization?
But I think we're looking at trying to make it a little bit more flexible. We started out with the 1 year, once a quarter, once whatever, the one-time community service type of thing, but we are trying to expand our horizon in terms of how else can we do adoptive park besides those standard type of ones.
Cool.
I think we could get creative with Adopt a Park.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we need a presentation by Dr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great, yeah.
And then the example, what is that?
What
Manoa
is that?
example look like, or what are
Yeah,
the?
yeah, we
Yeah,
can do
That'd
that.
be nice
Yeah.
to see as we position for more partnership.
Mhm.
It's kind of, so like the Manoa one, it's not, if you want to do that, it doesn't mean that you're gonna get the field space, right? So it's kind of like, we divvied up the field first, and then we were approached by this group they wanted to maintain it because they felt that they could maintain it at a higher level than what we could provide, right? So it's not contingent on them doing it, that they're gonna get the permit, right? So permits were issued first, and then we were approached to have this thing. So
How long has that partnership?
we just actually started
Oh,
it.
okay.
So that was the first one that we
We're gonna assess
did.
it, evaluate it and
yeah.
see what- oh.
Mhm.
So Robert, just because you take it apart, does it mean?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a-
Yeah. Just throwing that out there, yeah, just letting you know.
Should be extra 5 points.
Or you get the prime time, 4 to 6.
Yeah. Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays all day, yeah.
But they can have 7 to 9.
Yeah. And no more lights, but they can have 7 to 9.
I also think we all, not to forget the work, that you guys, it was great to have you guys in sharing. And it's not a space that I know well, but I feel like there could be more momentum, built in on our Duff side for learning and just having a space for that in meetings, I think is important. I know. For me to learn at least, or for others.
For sure.
Well, just knowing their pinch point is interesting, we just had a meeting, so it's so casual, so versus our other presentations, but we did have a meeting, Nikki participated in a meeting with Campbell, finding out Campbell has a tree farm. So, there's different partnerships that we could rely on, feedback from the board on stuff like that, that we may not know resources that are available. We didn't know that Campbell has a large tree farm that
Yeah.
maybe that's a discussion they work with in regards to, there's a source now.
Yeah.
There's a facility, you know, a partnership, or, you know, we have large entities that have to landscape their own facilities. And if there's other needs or trees that, you know, we can partner with and bringing that inventory in, if it's that, you know, the city could partner with and use, I think it would be interesting too.
I've heard that a lot, in the seedlings and trees are short everywhere, but there's a lot of needs, and so I don't know if there's a natural conversation to continue to occur on how,
There was a lot of money, federal money that came down for trees.
okay.
So everybody had grant money. And we're all running around, all trying to buy the same tree.
Is it still available, or is it part of the?
That's next
DEI
month's
money, so-
presentation to tell you kind of where the budget is and
Okay,
all
okay.
the
Are we
other
gonna have a budget?
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
A
gonna.
lot of
have a
that federal money was DEI money, diversity, equity,
Yeah, yeah.
inclusivity, that got cut.
Yeah, no more of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it'll mellow out now. And I think we're gonna see the market open up a little bit.
So we have Adopt a Park and MSS. You want to get an update from Maintenance Support Services. I mean, this is Peter's second week at the job, but he returned back from his own
Nice.
former position. And then Adopt a Park and Community Partnerships, if there's
Yeah.
any other or further partnerships we know that exist,
Yeah.
like a good example.
Mhm.
something that can give you, like, maybe you can be able to create like a strategy or plan, you know, a plan, like what can be a plan to step into this space, you know, a little further.
And then how to get the word out, because that would
Yeah.
be something that our partners can help us with.
I think,
It's gonna be a little bit easier now. Our website is all updated. It's ready to rock and roll. We have someplace to point to. We're getting a little bit better on our internet options and being in the right place at the right time. Yeah,
I guess, Chair, on the partnerships front, I think it would be interesting to also, like, from the work perspective, to have help, but also like a funding
Okay.
help, right? Like, I feel like there's groups out there, like the organization I work for, that would be happy to help fund
Okay.
maybe like fixing coconut mounds. And like, what would that look like to get that over the finish line? And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's other hotels or whatnot that would
Sure.
want to help fund things in public parks that could help move the needle. So
We have a wonderful declaration of gift form for you.
gift forms, yes. But even like a partner, public-private partnership, we pay half, you pay half, or, you know, cool.
Matching, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure everything's on the everything's on the
Uh-huh.
table nowadays.
Cool, okay,
Everything is.
awesome.
yeah, even sharing some of the processes, because I know hotels have a lot of processes available to them, even looking at equipment, you know, how we move sand off the walkways at
Exactly.
Cojio, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what's creating the mounds, is the way we move the sand around.
Mhm.
So, you know, something like that. Good sidewalk backs, we can't find good sidewalk backs, you know, like a 3-foot wide sidewalk back.
Yeah,
It's not available here,
right.
but you all might have ways to get stuff.
We're about to buy one.
Yeah, or, yeah,
Use it.
are.
Mhm.
yeah, so, and demonstrate it for us, show us
Yeah.
how the thing works and how we could use it in Cojio.
Mhm.
You know, to help, once we get rid of those mounds, we don't want to recreate them, so.
Well, exactly, yeah. We'll talk, maybe this was like, we'll talk after this, but, yeah. I just came back from San Francisco and there was a lot of, you know, the organization that I work for, there's, you know, one in every city, right? And a lot of cities, are partnering with their Parks and Rec department to help, you know, because there's all these like hotels and big businesses out there that have foundations that want to give money back to the community. And parks right now is like a hot thing, so it's like, okay, let's Hilton, you know, let's. So, I want to bring some of that back, so, yeah, we could talk maybe the next meeting or offline on this, so, yeah.
That would be great.
Sounds good.
Are there any registered testifiers? No registered?
No
Any
registered.
announcements? Well.
Sorry, this is an old.
She's sick.
Oh, so apologies on behalf of Director. She had the flu last week and she was completely out and she ended up giving our budget presentation that we presented to the council on Tuesday and it was a little shaky because she ended up really perspiring and holding onto the podium.
Oh,
So I
no.
know at the very end of her presentation, she was not feeling well, and then she went immediately home. So she apologizes for not being here. Ted's on vacation, so he's in Japan.
Nice.
You know.
So, but yeah, she apologizes for not being here, but you were in good hands today.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
What's that change room?
I think,
Just
yeah,
adjournment,
our
yeah.
next, well, one announcement, our next board meeting is
In June,
June.
third Monday of June
Okay, third Monday of June. Okay,
for
I was on
maintenance, yeah.
vacation, I don't do math on vacation.
okay. No further business. This meeting is adjourned at 2:24 p.m. Mahalo.
They're good. I can give them their. I have a. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Sarah. Good job, man. How's the new gig? You liking it?
Good.
Yeah. The chain fixing everything up. Seems like.
We're trying.
Yeah, we're trying.